you can go ahead and unspotlight yourself and allow everyone to go into gallery view. I think that that would be great to see everyone's origami. So,
Yeah, it'd be nice to get some feedback of how everyone did.
all right, I'll leave you now, and then Sarah, you can you're a co-host again, so you can admit people.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello everybody. My name's Bryony, and I'm actually here in Nihonbashi, which is the area that has the 0 kilometer marker for all of Japan. It's just to the right side of the Imperial Palace, very close to Tokyo Station. Now, this area is actually famous for not just the origami, but it's washi paper. So this very traditional Japanese paper. It's a lot stiffer, it's a lot harder, a little bit more difficult to fold than standard Western very thin paper, as you can see, that folds in half easily. So if anyone is using washi today, don't worry too much if it's a little bit messier, it's a little bit harder to get neat lines. It is thicker paper. Now, you should have all had an explanation, an introduction to origami that you can download. So I won't go too much about what origami is because we do have a limit today. It'll be more fun to make it, but you have a bit of an introduction here for anyone who wants. Now, today we're going to start off with something relatively easy, a samurai helmet. Now, I am using washi paper today. If anyone wants, cut a giant square out of newspaper. This can actually make a kid-size hat. Color it yellow, it can even be a Pikachu hat. So very fun for kids. The next one we'll be doing will be the very traditional crane. Now, you've probably all heard the stories of making 1,000 cranes to grant your wish. So that's the one we'll be doing today. Very good for if anyone in your family isn't feeling well. It's good for bringing health as well. Now, during the workshop today, I will be focusing on just doing the origami. So if anyone does get a little bit left behind and I don't notice you in the chat, you can unmute yourself if you need to. However, I will go over everything twice. We'll go nice and slow. So hopefully there shouldn't be any problems. However, do let me know if anything comes up. So I'm going to switch over now to my origami camera. And please let me know if this isn't showing up for anyone or anyone's having any difficulties seeing it. And I do have the chat open, so feel free to type something. Hopefully I'll notice it as we're going. Okay, so the two things we'll be making today, we've got the samurai helmet first, the crane second. So we're going to start with the samurai helmet. So everyone should have a piece of paper, whichever color you like. Choose the one you think will make a nice, cool samurai helmet. Now, I realize not everyone has printed the instructions. That's absolutely fine. Feel free just to follow along. However, for those of you who have, I'm also going to explain the steps of it as we go, because it makes it easier in the future if you want to download instructions and make your own items off the internet. So we're starting with the samurai helmet, and we're going to start with the white side upwards. And we're going to fold a line along the middle here. Now, I find the easiest way to get a neat line is bring these two tips together. And feel free to do this the other way up if that's easier for you, whatever direction you're most comfortable with. And then I find it easiest to make sure the corners are nice and straight next. Once you've got all three corners done, you can smooth out across the middle, and we should have a nice straight fold. Now, if you like it to be very, very flat and not open out a little bit, you can use your nails or a ruler to flatten the corner. Traditionally, you would just press it because scraping it with your nails can damage the paper, and paper used to be very expensive here. So it was very important, and people didn't want to damage the paper as they did it. Nowadays, it's a little bit more of a debate over whether it's okay or not. So now we've got a triangle looking like this. And we're actually going to fold these two outer tips down to this base point here. Now, the easiest way to do that is first find the exact middle. And the way to do that is to bring the tips together like this. Just make a little crease. And once we have that crease, we can open it back out, place a finger there, and we're going to fold it downwards. Now, you might notice as you fold, the tip here gets out of alignment. So I usually use my thumb to sort of hold this tip as well. It's okay to go slow, especially when you're starting. We're going to do the other side as well. You'll find it gets easier to go faster as you get more used to it. If your very base is a little bit messy, then it makes it a little bit harder to neaten it up later. Okay, so it should be looking like this. We've got these two flaps. So these outer triangles, outer corners, sorry, have been folded down towards the point at the base. And of course, you can have this facing whichever way you find easiest to fold. Just make sure we come back to the same position. So these two flaps are pointing towards your body. And now we're going to fold these two very lower corners at the very bottom, the ones we just folded down to the bottom. These are going to be folded back up to the top. So we're creating a line along the middle. Mine's nice and square, so it should be easy to see where I folded. And you will find as you fold the paper, this gets a little bit out of alignment. You might see a little bit of white, and that's okay. And we're going to do this on both sides. So this one as well folds up to the top. It's a little bit easier to do when it's right under my nose. So I keep automatically pulling it towards me. I'll try and make sure I don't go off screen here. Okay, so we should be looking like this. These two pieces have been folded upwards. The two top layers have been folded up to the top. And you've actually been left with two layers down the bottom. If anyone's isn't looking like this, put a note in the chat and we can repeat steps. Otherwise, the next step here is we're going to take just the top layer. Actually, we'll do this top bit first here. So we're going to take this very top corner up the top. Can everyone see the one I'll hold here so everyone can see where I'm grabbing? Just one of the top corners. And we're actually going to fold it outwards along a line that's not quite halfway through this triangle. It's a little bit higher up. And this always looks very confusing. And once you've done it, it's very easy. So we're just going to fold that outwards, preferably right down to this very inner corner. If you don't get all the way down, that's fine. So from here, folding it outwards. So we're creating a little wing. Now, if you fold it too far, you're just going to come all the way down to here. So if you find you've folded it all the way here and it doesn't look right, gently slide that angle up until you get to the place you want it to be. And for those of you who've already figured out what we're going to do next, we do the same on the other side. I'll create my crease first, so it's a little easier to view. So again, take this very top corner here and gently press it outwards. And I always think it looks quite nice if these are a straight line parallel to the midline here. Sorry, my paper is very thick, so it keeps lifting up off the table. However, if you don't want them parallel, that's absolutely fine. Samurai helmets used to, there were some who had sort of a big half moon on their helmet. So whatever you think looks cool, perfect. Okay, so now we've got this bit done, we're going to do the lower part. So take just this top layer. You'll see we've still got a white triangle left down here. And we're going to fold it up about halfway to here. So you should still leave about a finger width beneath that middle line. We're not folding it along the middle line. We're folding it about half or 2/3 of the way up, wherever you think looks good. You can see I've still left about a finger width here. If you leave a really small amount, that's fine. but you won't get that big thick band. It'll be a little bit harder to keep it flat. So I usually have mine relatively low and then smooth out along the line. And if anyone's using computer printed paper, yours will probably be lying a lot flatter than mine is. Mine keeps trying to creep away. Okay, and now we are going to fold along the midline. So we're basically creating another crease on top of that, like when you roll your jeans up. So we're going to fold up here along the midline. And you can see how this is now looking a lot like a samurai helmet. You can probably also see how if we did this in yellow paper, it would be relatively Pikachu colored. Okay, so everyone seems to be keeping up. We don't have any comments. Wow, everyone's really good at origami today. Perfect. So we're going to turn this whole thing over and we're going to create a crease along the back. So when you're reading instructions, whenever you see a double-headed arrow, it means fold it closed and open it out again. So we're going to fold this up. You can go right to the very tip if you want. Personally, I like to keep these two layers the same height because hats are usually the same height on the front and the back. So we're just creating a crease here. And then we're going to open that back once again. You see how we've got that line? Now we're actually going to open out the inside of our hat. So whichever way your hat's facing, we want to open up this little pocket in here. You see that little pocket there? It's a little bit like a bird's beak. And in here, we're going to tuck the piece that originally we folded up the back. We're going to tuck it inside. And just basically hide it inside here, tuck it up all the way in. And it's sliding very well today. There we go. And you can close it again. And we have our hat. Now this one is probably about the size for a teddy bear or a little soft toy. But if you make it from a square of newspaper, you can get ones that are big enough to fit on your head as well. So I changed to see if anyone having any difficulties. Anyone stuck there? We should have a helmet. Other than someone else. If anyone would like to share what they've done, that would be great. Feel free to switch your screens on if you'd like to. I'm sort of wanting to make sure everyone can hear me and that everything is going okay. Wonderful. Oh, we've got cute little helmets. Lovely. Perfect. Okay, so we've done the easy. Oh, we've got someone's got it on a doll. How lovely. Okay, wonderful. So we've done the easy one and everyone seems to have found that very easy. So next we'll go to the slightly harder one of the crane. So the crane isn't actually too difficult in itself. The folds are relatively simple. There's just a lot of them and the steps are very similar. So once again, we want to choose which piece of paper we want to do with our crane. I'll do a lovely black crane today, I think. And if anyone has printed out the instructions and wants to look at them, feel free to check the instructions as we go. To make it easier, I might just add in a couple of steps. So one of the steps I'm going to add in is actually at the very beginning. So we're going to turn our paper right side upwards. Now for the crane, normally you just fold it in half once, but there's a lot of folds that come later. So in preparation, we're going to fold it 4 times. So it's going to be folded across from point to point and across in half in the middle of the lines. So again, as we're folding our triangle, first we want to get our points together. Sorry, you can see the shadow, I think, as I lean forwards, because I just want to make sure all my corners look nice as we do this. If anyone is having a bit of difficulty with your paper, also remember origami paper like this comes in one big sheet and it is cut to size. So occasionally it is a millimeter or so out of size. So if one side is perfect and the other side has a little bit of white, that probably isn't your fault. It's probably just the way the paper was cut. Now, if we fold from here, this piece is going to be folding over another piece and it won't match up as well. So we want to open it up and fold it in the other direction. On mine, I seem to have a little bit of white showing in the directions. Now, to make it easy to fold a neater one today, we will do a slightly easy version, these nice gaps. Okay, so now I've got 2 lines here. We're going to do 2 more in this time. So again, I find it easiest to get the corners straight, but I think we've all folded paper a lot at school. I'm pretty sure we all know how to fold a piece of paper in half neatly. That said, I think I've forgotten a lot of stuff from school. So if you haven't done this for a while, don't panic. We have time. So origami is quite useful because it's seasonal. If you make a goldfish, that's perfect for summer, Halloween items, and you can just toss them away once you're done and decorate with something new. Okay, so we should have 4 folds here. You can sort of see on my piece of paper. So we are going to start off back in our triangle shape. Now this is actually one of the hardest bits that's very confusing to explain online. First off, we're going to take this, there should be a fold right down the middle of your triangle here. We're going to stand one side of the triangle directly upwards. Everyone looking okay so far? So the triangle we've stood up in the air, you'll see how in here, this one's also cut in half because of all those lines we just created. But if you put your fingers inside it, it'll actually open out into a diamond shape. This makes it a lot faster and quicker. So I'll do it one more time. So we're going to lift up one whole half of the triangle. And you'll find it has 2 creases down the middle. It's probably opening out a little bit as we do this. We're going to put our fingers inside that triangle. And you'll find if you just widen out along the creases, we end up with technically a square, a diamond that's on an egg. And now we're going to turn this over. So it seems to get a bit confusing. So we're going to stand up the same way, stand up this whole triangle. So ignore the little square we have on the table beneath it. This line down here to the very bottom tip towards you, and this corner, stand the whole thing upwards. And you'll find as you do so, you've sort of left a square or that diamond we just made on the table beneath it. So we just stood up this whole triangle. And again, in the middle of this triangle, we have our 2 creases again. So once again, if we just open this out, we end up with our little square. Is everyone okay so far? If anyone's having difficulties, we can do that step one more time, but seems like everyone's caught up. Perfect. Okay, so on one more time. Okay. So we should have these 2 triangles here. I'm going back to the beginning just because I don't know what step everyone's at. So we should have just folded our paper in half. This line down the middle of your paper, think of cutting your triangle in half. Fold that upwards. So the tip, this very far right tip, is now pointing up to the sky. And you should find you've got sort of a line coming through the middle here because of all the creases we made earlier. So we're going to put our fingers in there and open it out down into a diamond shape. We're going to do the same, exactly the same on the other side. It just looks different, but it's actually not. Again, this line from the furthest point to the point closest to you, take the right-hand corner, lift it up to the ceiling. And you've got, again, sort of this whole triangle shape standing up in the sky. Square left below on the table. This should have a crease halfway through it. So we're going to put our fingers in there and slowly just separate your fingers, and you'll find as you pull on these two midway creases, it opens out into a square. Okay. Now I realize people have possibly folded in all different directions. I just want to make sure that everyone has all these different layers pointing towards your body. Because we're going to next be folding these two bits. And if we fold on a different corner, we have trouble later. Well, we can't do it later, we have to undo it all. So make sure all these layers are pointing towards you. Just see if I can see my shadow then as I destroy the paper. No. Okay. Now we're going to take this outer right corner and this line here, so coming down to the tip closest to you in the outer right corner, this line is going to come to meet the center line. So we're creating a crease sort of on a diagonal here. So I'll show you what I mean. We're folding that whole line over. And if you want to make this easy on yourself, I would leave about 1 millimeter from the center line. Now, it's not quite as neat, but it saves you a little bit of difficulty folding over later. So it's very easy here to want to bring the point into the center. That's not what we're doing. Think of using a little bit of tension to draw this whole outer edge into the center line. Now to make it look neat, I usually use tension to sort of lift it up a little bit and then use my thumb to settle it where I want it to go, or my finger. Not quite sure now. I do it differently on camera, I think. And you probably can't see it all on mine, but I've actually left about 1 millimeter between this and the center line. Just because later we're going to be folding them in this direction. If they're too close, they'll cross over each other. Now we're going to do the exact same on the other side. So just a quick note, if anyone is looking like this and you've changed your shape, we're only taking the very top layer. So just make sure we've still got the bottom layer left down below. Just the top layer is folded inwards. On this other side here, we're going to do the exact same thing. I rotate this a bit as I do it. I find it easier because then I can grasp the outer corner, fold it inwards a bit, and again, allow that tension to sort of draw it into where I want it to go. Now, if anyone has long fingernails, you'll find this all a lot easier because your fingernails can sort of get into corners. It's harder with short nails. I used to have long fake nails, and that was a little bit easier. So we should be looking like this now. If anyone's a bit confused, we're actually going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So feel free to keep watching. It even looks almost like what we just did. We've got the same sort of square shape here. Again, make sure all the angles, the open side is pointing towards you. Again, we're going to take this line here from the very base out to the farmost right-hand side corner. Right side corner. This whole line is going to come to meet the center line. So we can draw it up and lift it in a little bit. And again, I'm finding my center line and leaving about 1 millimeter just because it's a little bit easier later. Once you've had more practice, of course, you can work on getting it right to the very center line. And you'll notice this time the whole shape's changed because we've now done it on both sides. So one side's folding on one side, and flip it over, we're doing the exact same thing on the other side. So I always found the hardest point about the crane was remembering which step I was up to, because a lot of them seem very repetitive. So you can imagine how long it would take to do this 1,000 times. Actually, in Japan, if someone at school isn't well, their classmates or all the different classes of the school will band together and make 1,000 cranes to send to the hospital, which sounds very sweet, but apparently 1,000 cranes takes up a lot of space. Okay, everyone should be at this step. You can see there's sort of a triangle here, and we're actually going to create a line along the top of, well, the bottom of the triangle, the top of the bits we've just folded over. The way we do that is we can just fold this backwards, fold it forwards. This is basically just making it a little bit easier for us to do the next step. Okay. Next step is a little bit more confusing. So I'm going to do it on the table. Now, of course, when you're used to making origami, feel free to pick it up, do it in your hands. But it can get confusing. So at first, it's easier to keep everything on the table. We're going to open out the two top flaps. Now, we just created a line along here. I want you to place a finger on the line so that you can't open out this little top bit. And we're going to take just this top layer. You can see it looks a little bit like a baby bird's beak. We're going to lift that up to that line we just created. And then these two outer edges are going to be folded inwards. Now you'll probably find you need to reverse the creases. This is where fingernails come in handy a bit. I have a big gap. I left quite a bit of space today. If you want to fix that here, you can. Personally, I like to leave a bit of a gap because later we're going to be folding things inwards and things cross over. Okay, we'll do that step one more time. So we're at this point here. We've got everything on the table. Oh, yes, it's a little bit of a tricky step. So placing it on the table, we're going to put our fingers on that top triangle, this one here. It will become a boat. So we're going to open this up here. So just the top layer, just to that line that we've placed our fingers against. And then you'll see how there's these sort of creases here, creating an inside diamond shape, and then these two side parts. We're going to fold these outer side parts inwards. You might find it easier to start from this very base corner. Fold those inwards. And as you get to the top, you'll probably need to use your finger in here to keep this folding inwards. And it should end up looking like this. So it's going to look a bit like a boat at the moment. I keep opening out because this washi paper is very, very thick. Okay, so once we've got this step, we should be looking like this. We're going to turn it over. Perfect. We're going to turn it over and do the exact same thing. So there's a lot of repeats when we're making the crane. So again, just to keep it nice and easy, you'll see there's like now two triangles now. We're going to place our hand on them. That's out the way for now. We're ignoring that part. We're going to open out these two top flaps. We've got this little triangle here. And again, just lifting up the top layer. And you'll see we've met that line in the middle again that we had last time. So again, if you find it easier, starting from the bottom, fold the outside flap inwards. Use your finger inside to get it coming nice and smooth up to the very top. Like the feedback, it's reassuring to know that if you're not getting it, you're letting me know. I don't want to get to the end and find no one followed me. Okay, so we should be looking like this. Now you'll probably find as you folded this kind of thing, we've got it all turned around. So we're just going to make sure the little triangle on the inside is pointing away from you. Towards you, you'll find you have two legs. This end is all connected. This side has two legs. So if your two legs aren't pointing towards you, we want to put them towards us now. And we're actually going to do exactly the same step as we did earlier. So this very bottom corner, out to the very far right corner, this line here is going to come to meet the midline. So again, I tend to use a little bit of tension to help lift it up. If you've got thick paper, you'll probably need to get your nails sort of in at the tip a little bit to try and fold it over. And again, I like to leave a little bit of space because it makes it easier later. We're not going for any origami prizes around here. We just want something that looks nice around behind. Again, we have to do this on all four sides. So this time on the left side, so from the very closest tip to you, again, just make sure those feet are still pointing towards you. So the very furthest corner, left side corner, line is going to come to meet the midline again. And you'll see how I'm only folding the top layer. We only want to fold one layer over, the other one just stays in place. Just like before, we're going to flip the whole thing over and do this exactly the same on the other side again. The hardest thing about praying without instructions is just remembering which part you're up to. Okay, so the next step is turning it over. Again, double check those legs are pointing towards you. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So this line here coming to meet the center line. The shapes change now because we've already done it on the lower side. So changing the entire shape of it. On the left side. Hey, is everyone at this point? We have another tricky bit coming up, unfortunately. I miss having nails. If you have a ruler at home, you can use that. Some people actually like to put sort of trace lines on the paper to show them where to fold. It's a little bit of a debate online over whether that's technically cheating or not. But I think if you're doing it at home for yourself, whatever you find easiest and most enjoyable is absolutely fine. Okay, the next step, I know a lot of people pick it up to do this step, and that's absolutely fine, but the instructions are kind of hard to follow on a screen, I think, and a little bit harder to explain. So we're going to do it on the table. I'm going to be very strict about my left and right, so if you use the other side, that's fine. Just remember which side you use. So I'm going to take the very top layer from the left side, just the top layer, and I'm going to fold it over to the right side. And you'll see I've now got this big sort of triangle shape here coming down towards me. You'll have a crease about midway up. This whole top triangle, just the top triangle, is going to fold up to the top. So just the top layer. This is why I like to leave a little bit of space. You'll see the paper sort of folds over each other here. So the more space you left a little bit earlier, hopefully you'll have a little bit more of a gap here. So when we're at this point, we're going to take now the top layer from the right side. It's the one we just opened out. And we're actually going to fold it back closed. Now, as we do so, can you see how this triangle has a line up the middle of it? We want to try and fold exactly up the center of that line. So if you left a lot of space between your folds earlier, this will be very easy for you. If you didn't, it's going to involve a lot of trying to crush paper to sit how you want it to. So as we fold this top right layer back over to the left, we just want to make sure we're going up the center of that triangle. And actually, your crane will look like it has two heads at the beginning. We start out with the two head and tail exactly the same. It's only the very end that changes it. So if it looks like you're going to have two heads so far, you're doing it correctly. Okay, the next step, we're going to take this top. It should look like this, by the way. Just make sure everyone's sort of, or possibly if you're doing it the other way around, this way. So we want to take the very top layer of the right side this time. I'll move my fingers out the way, and we're going to open it out. And again, you'll find we've got this big triangle pointing down towards us. There's like a crease halfway up here. We're going to fold up along that crease. And then taking the top layer from the left side, we're going to fold it back to the right. Now, as you do so again, if possible, try and fold up the middle of that triangle here. So this one I left more space on. It's a little bit neater for me on this side. So it should be looking like this. And there will be a bit of a white gap if you left space because we made it easier to do these folds. Leaves a little bit of a gap here too. Okay, so we've only got a few, well, two more steps. So first, we want our head and tail to be at an angle that we like. So we're going to grasp one of these top, quite sure what to call them. So we've got these two larger bits are actually going to be the wings. So this will be either the head or the tail. We're going to draw it out to sit at the angle you like. So pick a, however far you want it to come out. I usually do mine sort of in line with this edge here. And then press on the bottom to refold it at the angle you want it to be. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So grasp this top bit here. If you don't hold on, you tend to open it out. So I use my fingers just to lightly hold the base. Open it out to the angle you want it to sit on. Then squeeze the base again. Now you'll probably notice this side is a little bit neater on this side than on mine than this one. I like to make the neatest side my tail because we're going to leave it the way it is. So whichever side you think is a little bit messier, I usually make the head. That means we can hide it slightly. Now I'll show you the traditional way on our instructions that we're doing the head. If you're having difficulty, just fold it down, absolutely fine. Starting off, whichever side you want your head to be, we're going to flatten out the neck a little bit. So it's currently folded in half like this. We're going to just open it out slightly. And then however much you want to be the head, we're going to fold down against the neck. So at the moment, it should be a flat line. Hopefully you can see that there. Now this is actually a reverse fold. So if you have fingernails, this will be easier. We're going to press in the middle of the head. And you know how we had the neck closed before? We're going to fold it closed around the head. And you'll see how the head actually folds backwards into sort of a reverse fold there. So there's a little dent inside the head here. If you're having difficulty, feel free just to fold the head down normally, squeeze it flat. It doesn't have to be a reverse head if you don't want to. Actually, Sarah, if you do want to do two heads, just make one on the side as well. It'll be a two-headed crane. Okay, and now to open out our crane, we have a few options. So I'll just very quickly show you some ideas. So you can just pull the wings out very straight. You'll get a very sharp look. I like to put my fingers on the base and gently puff out the body so I get sort of this thick-bodied crane here. Now, depending on the wings, it's very common here in Japan to have straight wings. The other very common one is you just have a flat fold going outwards. You've probably seen a lot of cranes that look like this before, where we get just that straight fold. Now, I personally like to have big sweeping wings. I roll them around my finger to get sort of a curve coming in here, which looks a lot nicer when I haven't folded it first. So it's entirely up to you which kind of wings you want. So either starting from here, you can either just fold them straight down as it is, puff out the body, leave the wings straight, curl them, or fold them halfway down, whichever you think looks nicer. Now, if you are wanting to make 1,000 cranes, you would actually just put a piece of thread through the bottom, coming out the top, and then you can actually stack them as well. So if you ever go to Hiroshima, you'll see stacks of 1,000 cranes. But otherwise, that's our crane. Personally, I would prefer 2 heads to 2 tails if my opinion is being taken into account. At least that way it's got eyes on both ends. How's everyone doing? Did everyone get the crane done okay? Oh, nice. See if I can gallery view here. I've got a whole bunch of different cranes there. Oh, some people are quick and have got 2 done in that time. Okay, perfect. Does anyone have any questions before I finish? Is anything anyone wants to ask me or about anything you didn't understand today? Now is the time. Does anything? No, Sarah, is everything okay? Okay, should we all switch on our pictures then and we'll take a screenshot of our...
Fine, I would say let's show each other what we have done. I mean, I have to say I haven't been folding anything for beside napkins in a restaurant, you know, for years. So this has been kind of fun.
I'm so glad everyone understood my instructions. You're all amazing today. We usually always have someone who does it backwards, so that's wonderful.
So that's cool. How can we see all together? Oh,
if you click on the top right, there's a gallery view.
Now I can see. Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us and for having a bit of fun. Wow, I see some really big helmets and some really big cranes. That's amazing. Wow, well, wow, kind of like your paper is like really like you do have the good paper. Wow, that's great. That's cool. Does anyone want to take a picture if we are all on? I'm not sure how to do that. Does anybody know? Jarwan, show us what you have done. Don't be shy. Tom, what did you do? Show us. Nothing? Did you give up? Yes.
I think we're recording all this, so we can also grab a screenshot from the recording later.
Yeah, sure. I would just, yeah.
I have to admit, I'm not sure how to, I only know how to take a screen grab of my whole computer. not the most technologically savvy, I'm afraid.
Same,
Oh,
but
yay, someone made a cute mini one. That's adorable.
yeah. Oh wow, what is that? Oh, that's the helmet. This is so cute. This is so cute. Also, Nimi, you got very wow, that's nice. Yeah, that's a nice gray. I'm happy
Thank
for
you
those of
all
you
for.
that have a pet and they would be
I
um
wish they could have like a good paper as you.
uh,
There was a link to some download paper, I think, and it had some patterns, like origami sized paper with patterns on, like seigiha. So if you want to print some and do some yourself at home as well, feel free to. We put the instructions online as well.
yeah, we put them in the instructions on the Hubilo page, so you're very welcome to download it there and just try it out again, maybe with your kids for those that have them, or you know, by yourself, to just relax. So thank you very much, Prayoni, for these.
No, thank you all for having me. It was wonderful. I'm glad you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you everybody for being here with us tonight, and see you tomorrow. For those of you that are following, of course, the the forum. Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Arkanen. Yeah, that was great.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.